I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 114, Compassion. Your life does not have to revolve around your husband's pornography addiction. You are not defined by his choices or by what he sees on a screen. You are not just the porn addict's wife. You are so much more. In this podcast, I'm going to teach you how to go from handling it to healed, because I've been where you are and you don't have to stay there. My name is Jolene Wynn. I'm a member of the LDS faith, a certified life coach, and a wife of a former porn addict. And this is a podcast for the porn addict's wife. Hello, my ladies. How are you? When you guys are hearing this, it'll be probably mid-July, but as I said last week, I am batch recording a bunch of episodes for you. So it's the beginning of July. I hope you guys are having a great summer. I hope you guys have already signed up to come to Nashville with me, because that is going to be such a good time. And if you want to get $300 off Nashville, then come join my coaching program. Not only do you get lifetime access, but then you also get $300 off for coming to Nashville. My clients are coming for $900. If you're not a client, I would still love for you to come. It's $1,200, okay? But I want you guys to go check out my website, jolenewynn.com. You can go to the events tab and you can check out all the details for the Nashville trip. Make sure that you're subscribed to my emails, Jolene at, oh my goodness, you guys, my brain, at jolenewynn.com. You can sign up for my emails, and that way you can know I will be sending out updates as to how many spots that there are left, or if it's all sold out. So make sure that you are subscribed to that so that you can make sure that you get your spot. Again, there are only 15 spots. Some of them are already taken. I don't know when this airs how many will still be left. So if you want to come, then you go snag your spot right now, because it is going to be so much fun. All right, ladies, today I want to talk to you guys about compassion. Okay, compassion is an interesting thing because it's a very, very good tool to help you see your husband and his pornography addiction in a much lighter, much more equal playing field. Here's what I mean by this. Typically, when we are looking at our husband's pornography addiction and we look at our husband, it's very tempting to look at him as the bad guy. Very tempting to look at him as the villain. And even if you don't see him as the villain forever, if you haven't always seen him as the villain, it's very common among my clients and podcast listeners to come to me with this idea of him being almost two different people, right? There's like the amazing man that I married, and then there's this guy who struggles with pornography addiction, and I can't even look at him the same, and he's not the man that I married, and I don't even know who he is anymore, and all of those thoughts. It's very tempting for our brain to create a villain so that we can be the victim, right? This is because we want validation for our emotions. We want to feel like the way that the emotions that we are having are valid, okay? This is why we have to learn how to teach our brain that your emotions are valid no matter what, and you don't need any outside validation in order to make them real and valid. You can just learn how to accept them and think about them in such a way that you don't need a bad guy in order to feel them. Does this make sense? So our brain often wants to create a bad guy. Now, one of the things that I teach my clients and we work on a lot is creating compassion. Being able to turn that around, and rather than seeing him as the villain, as the bad guy, we're able to see him with compassion. Now, there are many objections that come up in our brains, and I've talked a lot about this on the podcast before. One of them, though, one of the big ones, is that it's very tempting to cringe and to resist the idea of compassion, because our brain thinks, well, if I'm compassionate, then that means that I'm okay with what he's doing, right? If I accept what he's doing, it means I'm okay with it. It means that I don't think it's wrong. It means that he's fine and he has permission to keep doing it. And none of that is true. When we are able to shift this in our brains and look at him with compassion, what we're doing is actually leveling how we see him. Okay, now let me explain this a little bit. When we are making him the bad guy and us the victim, typically, at least in my brain, the way that I think about that is he's a little bit higher. He's the villain. He's stepping on us with his feet, right? We're kind of a little bit lower. Now, at the same time, It also makes us higher than him because we're in the right and he's in the wrong. Okay, so it kind of depends on which thoughts you're looking at. Like, here's this bad guy and I can't do anything about it. Then we're in a lower victim place. Okay, however, when we're looking at it from, yeah, he's the bad guy, but he did something wrong and I'm the one that's right and I didn't do anything wrong and I don't deserve this. That kind of puts us on a higher playing field mentally, right? This is just the way that our brain is thinking about it and keeps him lower. It is very difficult, ladies, to have a marriage where you are trying to work together and move forward, or even just move forward yourself in a marriage, in a relationship where you're not on the same level. And this is one of the most amazing things about compassion. Compassion, when you let go of that villain in your brain, you bring him back up and you lower yourself so that you guys are next to each other. Now, again, our brain really struggles with this for so many reasons, but again, one of them is that it's worried that being on the same level means that everything he did was okay. And that's not true. When you have a thought about your husband that you want to change, what I want to offer is that you start asking yourself how you could rephrase it, or how could I look at this with more compassion? This is when we take him from being the villain and we make him human. Ladies, your husband is just a human who is making mistakes. Mistakes that are terrible, mistakes I don't agree with, mistakes that I wish he would figure out sooner and learn how not to make, but still making mistakes. You are also human. You have also made mistakes, right? And when you're able to see him this way, it enables you guys to look into each other's eyes on an equal level rather than you coming down and talking down to him or seeing him as this bad guy who's constantly trying to hurt you. Does this make sense? Think about how this applies. I know that you guys might be thinking like, well, where exactly is this going to help me? Think about conversations that you have, okay? If you're trying to talk to your husband about really anything, it could be doing the dishes. If he's the bad guy in your mind and he's always the one that's hurting you, you're going to talk to him very differently than if you see him as an equal, okay? You talk to a villain much different than you do an equal. Right? And you talk to an equal very different than you talk to someone who's beneath you, right? This is a very tricky part about this. And I want to compare it real quick here and note that compassion, ladies, is not the same as pity, okay? It is very tempting when we start learning about compassion to want to go to pity. What a poor man. Isn't it so rough that he has to struggle with this? Now, this may not be exactly in your mind, but think of the thoughts that make you feel like he is a little bit pitiful. It makes you feel pity toward him rather than compassion. These are two different things. The main difference in my brain between pity and compassion is that pity, again, puts you above where he is, okay? It's like, I'm better than you, you poor human. You're so sad. That's sad, right? And you see him as lower or beneath you, okay? I think of it as this. Compassion is having you see yourselves as being equals, but you have compassion for his struggles. And pity, I feel like, is more assigning his actions as part of who he is as a person. Do you guys see what I'm saying? It's kind of like taking that on. You're making his actions be who he is, and that's not necessarily true. It's very difficult in our brains to separate our actions from who we are, but I want to encourage you guys to try and do this. And again, having compassion, not only for him, but for yourself, is going to be a huge key in this. And I also want to offer, ladies, that the more compassion you learn how to have for yourself and for other people in your life, the more you're going to be able to learn how to have compassion for him. Okay? Think about the worst thing that you've ever done. Have you ever talked to your husband about it? Do you want to talk to him about it? What if you never talk to him about it? There are so many things that we do in our life, but if you think about the worst thing you've ever done, the thing that you're hoping like you don't even have to acknowledge to yourself, maybe that's what this is like for him. And not only does he have to acknowledge it to himself, he has to acknowledge it to his wife. The wife who he knows every time he talks to her, it hurts her. The wife who he thinks might divorce him if he confesses he's relapsed again. The wife who he loves more than anything in this world. He has to tell her. He has to talk to her about it, right? When you're able to look at it just from that perspective and see how difficult it is for him to have these conversations, then we're able to come from a much different place. Rather than it being, I can't believe you did this again. You're such a terrible person. How could you hurt me? You're looking at it from an equal space where you can look him in the eye and you can understand the struggle. You don't agree with it, doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, but you see it. And you can see the struggle and appreciate the struggle without making it mean that nothing has gone wrong and that you're totally fine with him watching porn, and without making it mean that he's this terrible human who hates you and is just trying to ruin your life. Do you guys see what I'm saying? But be really careful when you are starting to view him with compassion that it doesn't just go to pity. Isn't he a horrible, or isn't this just like a pitiful human and he should be able to get through this and there's something wrong with him that he's not able to, or whatever it is that your brain comes up with, because that is just your pride talking. Our pride is what makes us want to be above. Our pride is what makes us want to see ourselves as better than. But seeing ourselves as better than is not helpful, especially in this kind of a relationship where we're trying to move forward and trying to move past something that is constantly weighing us down. When we're able to look at it as an equal, and then we're able to start moving forward without leaving him behind or without seeing ourselves as higher. Does this make sense, ladies? I feel like I'm talking in circles a little bit today. But I just wanted to bring this up because, again, if you're struggling with your husband, as if you're still seeing him as the villain, then seeing yourself as the victim, then I want to offer that you try to shift into compassion and see the humanity in him and accept his mistakes and his flaws. And one of the best ways you can do that is by accepting your own and trying to see things from his perspective. And try to do that without making it mean that you are better than him, because that is just pity and that is not the same. Okay? All right, ladies, I love you guys so much. Go be compassionate. It takes practice. It's totally fine. Be compassionate with yourself as you learn how to be compassionate. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Take care. All right, my ladies, if you enjoyed that podcast episode, you have to come join my coaching program. It is $2,500 for lifetime access to all of my online content and all of my coaching calls. Not only will you get one-on-one attention from me through coaching calls, you will also get to join this amazing community of women who are all working through this the exact same as you are. You'll also get 24/7 access to me through Slack, our private group messaging channel, and you will get access to all of the new material and content that I create. If you are ready to start applying everything that you've learned on the podcast and really take everything to the next level and start creating who you are as more than the porn addict's wife, I want to encourage you to come join my program today. Head to jolenewin.com, click on join, and you can join anytime. I can't wait to see you there.